Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please try not to rejoin the show using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Anthony Riley. How are you doing, Anthony? Can you hear us?
Yeah, man, getting a cold, but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, I've been fighting it off for about 2 or 3 weeks, saying it's a cold, and now I've got the shivers, and I've definitely got the flu. So I'm ill. I'm hanging around with little kids, what's it called, play groups and things. They're all ill.
Yeah. So obviously it passes it around to the parents, who in turn pass it around to everybody else.
That's it, exactly. Fun.
Yeah. Did you notice in the chat yesterday that there were people saying, "Hey, Soundly proves that it's a ball. Have you seen his most recent video?" And at the time, yesterday, I thought that I had seen his most recent video. I didn't realize that he'd updated it with a more superseded version. And he's done one at night time. And basically, the guy in chat, I can't remember who it was, but he was basically saying, "Hey, Soundly proves it." No, Soundly's simply proving. He's proving refraction and he's proving perspective, and convergence and divergence. Well, divergence specifically. He isn't proving the shape of the Earth, and anybody that thinks he is can't see what they're seeing for the love nor money. I might come back to Soundly at some point later on when a bit more bums gets on seats, but for the moment, Soundly's not proving no shape of no Earth. It's an interesting observation he's got, but he's only showing literally anything below the horizon that heads to the horizon will head up. Anything above the horizon that heads to the horizon will head down. That's simple perspective. That's all he shows. Have you seen Soundly's video?
No, the last one I watched you played on here, which was the drone one.
Yeah, he's done another drone one at night rather than at day. And to be honest, the hardware that he's using is really cool because most of the drone hardware that I've seen doesn't have cameras on it like what he's got. So I don't. He did put the name of the drone thing on it. It wasn't one that I was familiar with, so it's not what I'm not. I don't know what hardware he's using, but it's pretty impressive to be able to do what he's doing.
Yeah, it's very useful. Soundly's videos are very useful for demonstrating refraction.
And yeah, and flat plane perspective. It's probably the most valuable thing he's done, to be honest, the drone footage he's done. I just need to find the Hangout that's live at the minute so I can get the chat. So I can see all the abuse that I get. Al K is due to bring out a video in the next day or two. He was asked, we met with that, and there we go. Me and Ranty met up with Al K, and it was agreed that he would measure the mound that Miles was stood on. I've told him quite clearly that it is 20.5 feet in height from the bottom of the thing where he had his stick to the top where Miles had his feet. It is 20.5 feet. And that was done based on a measurement that I did. And I just basically chucked the tape down and got the hypotenuse length. And then I didn't calculate the angle at the time. I just held the angle and then I put a protractor on it. The following day when I got back to my PC, or later on that afternoon when I got back to my PC, because I felt that it was the easiest way for me to actually measure the angle. And it gave me a value of 20.5 feet, and I'm happy with that. I'm standing by it. But it got a little bit interesting because the rumpus didn't like the angle that I calculated, or rather the angle that I measured. And he said that it was literally nearer to 30 degrees than the 20-degree angle that I'd basically measured. So he changed it to 30 degrees, and that basically went a lot closer to what Miles Delia Davis claims that he was at with regards to his height above actual water. Now, I realise and I know that that's nonsense. There's no way I was 10 degrees out, maybe 2 or 3 degrees out if you push it one way or the other, not just towards Miles. It could have been 2 or 3 degrees going the other way and making it smaller. But I did a fair measurement, I measured that angle fairly and accurately based on what I had at the time. And I didn't even measure the angle at the time. I did it on the computer screen later on. Anyway, the rumpus changed it. And in rumpus changing it massively in favour of Miles Delia Davis, the rumpus has basically, well, he's discredited himself, rumpus, really, because he didn't dismiss my evidence and say that he felt that it was wrong. What he did was manipulate my own. He resubmitted my own evidence with alterations to it, and that's worse than Miles, because he didn't have a scientific justification to do it. He does have one, but it's the weakest of weak. He claims that it was based on the horizon in the background, which he thought was water and therefore flat, but it's actually the contour of the land, like gradually going down towards the sea, which is obviously not flat. And even if he'd have got the angle correct, which he didn't, but even if he had done, he was angling it based on an angle going down. So it's nonsense. But that was his scientific justification for doing it, which, the rumpus, if you're listening, that is ridiculous. There is no reason for you to manipulate my evidence to resubmit it and then present it as sound. That's literally dishonest. But that's what the rumpus has done. Now, the rumpus has got really triggered in Alkay's comments. And as far as I'm concerned, the rumpus is probably the most dishonest person I've ever come across, in my opinion. I mean, at least people like Sean Hufford, who can't quote somebody accurately ever, he's probably doing that ignorantly. I don't think he's intentionally doing it. But nonetheless, misquoting somebody is a cardinal sin. If you're going to quote somebody, you do have to get it exact. You have to get it exactly the way they said it, in the correct context as well, which I did to Sly Sparkane. And then he tried to weasel his way out of it because he said that I cherry-picked him and changed the context. And I was like, no, I was exact with what I said. What you said, I speech quoted you, and I put it exactly word for word what he said. And I did. And Sly tried to weasel his way out of it once he realized that he'd made a mistake. Well, Sean doesn't do that. But worse than what Sean and Sly have been doing is the rumpus. He's manipulating evidence to suit Miles. Now, Al's been back and he's measured it. And if Al doesn't come back with a value of 20.5 feet for the height of that mound that the Miles Davis was on, I'll go back up there with me tape measure. I'll reconsider my position. I'll re-angle it. And then it must be the case that trigonometry doesn't work, because I know what the hypotenuse is. Can't change that. And the only thing that can change is the angle that was calculated. Well, I'll redo it. And if I don't get a figure that's similar to what Alkay's is, then one of us is doing something wrong. And I'm pretty certain it's not me. So I'm pretty confident that Al's going to come back with 20.5 feet. But what I will add to that, for my own, if it's fair that Mick West can have 76R for his calculation on negligible refraction, 76R works out at 15% thereabouts. I'm going to claim 15% for a negligible adjustment, just in case it's not bang on the same value that Al gets. And 15% of 20.5 feet is 3 feet. So anything below 23.5 feet is basically accurate, if we're going to apply negligible as per Mick West and his bendy light nonsense. So anything below 23.5, I'm accurate, rumpus. And that proves that you've been dishonest, because you've changed it, because you're a dishonest fool. So as far as I'm concerned, rumpus, you've stepped out of the conversation, because you can't manipulate people's evidence. You can dismiss it and then redo it yourself, but you can't manipulate it and present it as true based on nonsense science that was wrong anyway.
Have you got an analogy?
Have I got an analogy for what?
Manipulating someone else's evidence.
Have you got one?
No, I'm really ill.
Let me have a think about manipulating somebody else's evidence. Well, put it this way: if it were a court case, right, and the police had manipulated evidence against the perpetrator for, let's say it was a burglary, right, and let's say that the evidence was supporting the burglar. Let's say the burglar had an alibi, and the alibi was that he wasn't even in the country at the time, and the police got a signed affidavit for a signed witness statement from the alibi saying he was in Spain with me. And then the cop went in and changed it and changed the witness statement completely and forged the signature and passed it off as legit to the court. What do you think would happen to that police officer if it turned out that the police officer had manipulated the evidence? One rumpus, that's exactly what you've done. You've manipulated evidence to make it sound like Miles Delia Davis was credible. And I measured that, and I stand by my measurement. it was measured at 20.5 feet. Maybe half a foot or maybe 2 feet either way, because there will be a discrepancy over the angle. But the angle wasn't 10 degrees out. Might have been 2, maybe 3.
Isn't it interesting how they are absolutely insistent on you getting straight lines to make this trig calculation, yet when we look at the targets, they apply arc calculations. And they're rough, and they're not quite perfect. Things aren't quite where they're supposed to be, but we can still calculate them with an arc calculation. We can work out where this Mirage is. Isn't it funny? I mean, to me, that's the most telling part of this. The fact that, you know, these Mirages, which apparently, according to them, are very uncommon, are common enough that they know the exact maths on them.
Slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena asks, what are your thoughts on Soundly's drone footage video? I have just addressed that literally 2 minutes ago, but just for your benefit, because you've obviously only just joined. He's showing perspective clearly. Anything that heads towards the horizon that is below the horizon will head up. Anything that heads towards the horizon that is above the horizon will head down. The bridge that you're looking at heads towards the horizon and at some point goes above the horizon to be then brought back down again because of the rules of perspective. He's showing perspective. And you know it's perspective and nothing else, because if it was the case that we were seeing the curvature of the Earth, then you would be able to get other observations that would corroborate that. Now, remember that Soundly's observations are only done over 16 miles. That's the Pontchartrain Basin's width, 16 miles. So if we're seeing the curvature of the Earth the way that he presents it in his videos at 16 miles, then you should see that same level of curvature in all of the videos where that 16 miles is exceeded, because it shows it the size of something that like a basketball. Now, if that really is the case, then everything that goes beyond 16 miles should be consistent with it. Now, the Lake Balaton experiment that FE Core are doing at the moment not only destroys Soundly, but it destroys this nonsense that's on the Metabunk refraction calculator. So if you're paying attention to what FEC are doing at the moment, you'll see that coming out in the next week or two. But they've done Balaton with a laser, and it basically puts everything to bed as far as we're concerned. You've got to argue that the laser is being subjected to refraction, and if you can actually show evidence where the refraction coefficient is that minuscule over a frozen lake where the temperature of the air above it and the lake itself is pretty much the same, be my guest. But the reality is they show that over a massive, a distance bigger than Soundly's, there is no curvature whatsoever. None. It's flat as a pancake. That frozen lake is flat. Now, I've done it myself. I've done it with Blackpool Tower from Hoy Lake at 30 miles and seen the whole thing. I know you guys ignore the evidence that's there and argue that we're not seeing any more of Blackpool, Slice Barcane. But we are. We're seeing the roller coaster at 235 feet. We're seeing the mirror ball at 40 feet on the roadside. We're seeing the lights that are on the central pier stanchions that sit at 100 feet. We're seeing down to 100 feet, which is coincidentally the same distance that we're seeing down to with the Isle of Man observation, where we don't see Ramsey, which is below 100 feet, but we see everything else up to 100 feet. And that's also at 30 miles by coincidence. So if Soundly really is showing the curvature of the Earth, we would see that consistently everywhere with everybody. And of course, all he's showing is a bridge that starts off below the horizon, but heads up to the horizon. And at some point, the bridge gets above the horizon, but then gets brought back down to the horizon. And that's exactly what the rules of perspective do. Any plane that you see going towards the horizon always heads down. And you know that that plane's flying horizontal. It's flying parallel to the surface of the Earth, whether it be a ball or flat. But from our perspective, we see it heading down. Well, you can see that yourself. You also see it with boats. As boats go up to the horizon, they all go up to the horizon. So fundamentally, his bridge that goes up to the horizon, but at some point passes above the horizon, it then gets brought back down. Logic and reason. What do you think that's going to be? Logic and reason is going to tell you that you're seeing perspective, and only perspective. There is nothing in there to suggest that we're seeing curvature. There is an element of obstruction on the horizon that appears to present buildings that make them look like they've got bigger. But actually, that same obstruction is what we see in the Isle of Man footage, which is what blocks out Ramsey. And I asked Sly Sparkane, would Sly explain to me what is the current science for what we're seeing? And Sly came back with, quote, Sean Hufford, quote, it's an obstruction on the horizon that appears to the observer as obstruction, but is actually an inverted mirage. And I agree with him. That's exactly what we're looking at. It's an inverted mirage of what we see. And that's the same obstruction that we see at Soundly's over 18 miles. And it does obstruct the observer's view. But the claim is that it's curvature. No, it's not curvature. It's only curvature if you want to believe it's curvature, and I won't stop you from believing it. If you think and believe that that's curvature, then you believe that's curvature. But we see that same effect in the Isle of Man, and it's what's stopping you from seeing the underside of the floaty land, and it's what's obstructing Ramsey completely. And to quote Sly's words, it's an inverted mirage that appears to the observer as an obstruction. Well, we see the same thing in Soundleys. But remember, Soundleys is only done over 16 miles, whereas mine was done over 30, and Lake Balaton is done over something like, I don't know exactly what figure they've got it to, but I think it's about 37. It's flat as a pancake. So Soundley, yeah, if you want to believe that that's curvature you're looking at, fine. If you want to believe that it's actually simply perspective because the bridge is heading down to the horizon once it's gone over the point of the horizon, it has to head down to it, creates the perception of curvature, and that's all it is. Anyway, Nick's got no L, and slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena. I hope that I've answered your question comprehensively. You've become a bit of a tick, I think you guys call them, on the cow that annoys the cow. Started off being okay, but now you've got your feet under the table, you're becoming a tick. It's flat as a pancake at Isle of Man only. No, it's flat as a pancake over Lake Pontchartrain as well.
Yeah, just waiting for you. Sorry. I was going to say, in terms of things like adjusting a few angles when you're measuring a hill, that is the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned. The entire thing is a deception. So for people to know the intricate details of that deception and be able to argue that a flat plane observation is actually on a curved Earth because of maths is disingenuous to the point of thinking you have to understand this. You have to understand what's going on in order to wrap your head around it in such a way. And I don't think it's delusion either. You know, you have to recognise what you're actually looking at first before you can start to co-opt that into making others believe that it's curvature that you're looking at. So I really do think that the entire thing is riddled with deception, and you know, them changing an angle on a measurement of a hill is literally just the tip of the iceberg.
Do you remember which? I'm just looking at the rig. The rig is in Australia, isn't he? If I remember correctly.
Yes, it's got V8.
Yeah, that's right. That's the guy. Yeah, Commodore. I think he's got from memory. I think he's got a Commodore something or a Holden something or other. But yeah, do you remember which video it was that Jeren did? And it was one of the longest roads in the world, and it just so happened to be in Southeast Australia. And I think it was something like 100 and something miles, and there was like something like a 20-foot variance from one end to the other. Now, if it was supposed to be following the curvature of the Earth, I mean, you can do the maths on it yourself, but it was supposed to be following the curve of the Earth, and it was flat. I'm going to find it for the rig, and then you can watch it, and then you can tell me where he's gone wrong. Because, I mean, fundamentally, the rig, if the road's flat and it doesn't change elevation at all at any point, yeah, you know the road. So how is it, if it's curved where you live, then the rig, why is it that that road seems to be extremely flat? And then when you add that to Kansas being flat as a pancake, quote, and then other 4 or 5 states thereafter that claim to be flatter than Kansas, that's kind of negating a whole lot of curvature. And then you remind yourself of the abyssal plains, which is the bottom of the oceans, for those that aren't sure, and the abyssal plains are all flat. There is no curvature. So when you add all those non-curvature bits up, that's a whole lot of the Earth that's missing a whole lot of curvature that's got to be caught back up again at some point. I'd like to know where all that's going.
Nick, you also pointed out the maths wrong. From memory, you said it was 0.13. So you got it wrong too. We had a good laugh at that. While you were telling Anthony that he was an idiot, you'd also got the maths incorrect. Funny stuff.
Yeah, can I just clarify that? Nick's laughing at me at the moment in chat because he thinks that I got the maths wrong. And he corrected me because I did get the maths wrong. I said it was I think I said it was 0.15 and it should have been 0.25 or something of that kilter. And Nick corrected me with 0.13 instead of 0.15, but really it was 0.23, not 0.13. So Nick's laughing at me for getting simple arithmetic wrong. Fair play. I got the arithmetic wrong. I was out by 10. But Nick corrected me on the arithmetic and was wrong with his correction, which is even worse than what the initial mistake that I was making live on air right now. And you've got time to think about what I said and still got it wrong, Nick. So yeah, you can laugh at me if you want, but
him calling you a moron while he's got the maths up on screen published. And you're right, you know, there is more pressure on you to do it while you're in debate with somebody live, and there's absolutely no pressure on him to get the calculation right. He could probably pull a calculator across. Yeah, he did it like you in his head and got it wrong.
Yeah, and corrected me with it getting wrong. Nick won't go on the panel because he knows how trolls operate. Yeah, that's right. They stay in.
Yeah, we point out the idiotic things that people like you do, Nick. That's what we do. We insult you with your own mistakes, which is hysterical.
Should we get it on screen and show people what actually happened?
Yeah, why not? Let's really humiliate Nick because he's saying he won't come on the panel because we're trolls. Well, no, Nick, you were pointing out Anthony's ignorance whilst demonstrating your own.
Yeah, let's see if we can find that. Nick, do you remember when it was? Probably two.
I would give up rather than searching for it live and having loads of dead air. But
I'm going to have a look through.
Oh, listen.
I'm going to have a look through and see if we can find it, because I remember when I had the camera, the calculator on screen. Can't remember what the point was, but I'll find it. It's only a couple of days ago. Did you see the that video that what's his face shared?
Jamie Brown.
Yes, Jamie Brown, Dubai. I tell you what, will you present that? Oh, you can't really present it, can you?
No, if you can present it, that would be better.
Okay. Jamie Brown shared a video yesterday, and it's 200 kilometers worth of basically non-curve. So we've got the rig saying that it's curved round where he lives. And I showed that there were reported 5 states in America that claim to be as flat as a pancake. Not curved like a minstrel, flat as a pancake. And Jamie Brown, can you see my screen? Am I sharing it?
You're on, yeah.
So let's get Jamie Brown up. In fact, it should actually be in history. He showed a video from, I'll butcher the names if Dubai was one of them. Here we go. So flat Earth, 200 kilometers, Iran to Abu Dhabi, right? Iran to the United Arab Emirates is 200 kilometers. That's what? So 100 is 62. So 124 miles of flat plane. And what he's doing is he's showing what hardware he's got. So I think it looks like he's got a 600 millimeter lens with a lens extender on it. But basically, it doesn't really make that much difference. You really want to see this. 200 kilometers, so 124 miles, and the curve on it. I mean, you can do the maths, but I mean, think about it in the context of Soundly. For those of you that think Soundly may have shown the curvature of the Earth, fine. Well, if this is the curvature of the Earth that we're seeing with Soundly, how's this one explained? Now he starts off zooming in from a distance, and you can see that there's nothing there, but now we're beginning to see a couple of things. And then he zooms. I think I've got this playing slow. Oh, no, I haven't.
You actually verified this?
No, not me personally, no.
How do you know it's real?
I don't. I have to trust what we're seeing on screen is a true reflection of what he's done. It's come from Jamie, though. I trust it from Jamie. And anyway, we're only reporting the facts as they are presented as to us. But what he's showing is that you can see Dubai from Iran, 124 miles away. 124 miles. And we're seeing down to the shore almost. And he hasn't, oddly, he hasn't even got the band of dirty air or the obstruction formerly known as curvature.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's why I question it. For all we know, this has been edited together from someone on a boat 10 miles offshore.
It could be, but that rocking that you see up and down is consistent with extreme zoom because you can't.
I'll give you that as well. I noticed that too. You know, as he's zooming in, you know, you've only got to move a hair and you knock it by a considerable amount. And obviously, I've seen you do that with. I remember you detailing how you took the Isle of Man composite, you know, the video, and you were explaining that, you know, you hold your breath and you can feel, you know, the blood pumping through your hands as you're moving it because you're trying to keep it so unbelievably still. And it's a very difficult thing to do, but. Still, 200k is a hell of a way.
So in the context of Soundly, let's give this the benefit of the doubt in that we haven't got any evidence to suggest that it's fake, fraud, wrong, or otherwise. It is what it is. What you see is what you get. If anybody can debunk it, be my guest. I'd challenge Soundly to debunk it. If he thinks the Earth's curved, explain this one. But in any event, this is what we're presented with, and it's come from Jamie Brown's chat. I don't know where it's originated from, but you can find it on Jamie Brown shared it yesterday. And as he zooms back out, you can see that these boats disappear behind the curve. I mean, they disappear into the vanishing point. They don't disappear into the curvature of the Earth. So obviously, yes, you can zoom into the background and get further and see more. So this concept of boats dropping behind the curve is nonsense. It doesn't happen. You may get atmospheric effects that make it look that way. Periodically, I got one once and I shared it. It looked like there was a boat hidden behind the curvature of the Earth. But it was the only time that I've ever seen it. So it was the freak more than the pattern, but nonetheless, 200 kilometers, 124 miles, and you can see it's flat as a pancake. Now I don't know where he got this from. Video by Search Dubai, that must be it. Flat Earth, 200 kilometers, Search Dubai, published 27th of Feb. So it was only published yesterday. So I'm going to give that a thumbs up, see what the comments are. Great footage, thanks so much. Oh, here we go, Paul Voigt. It should be impossible, and it is impossible. The footage taken was not obtained using the camera shown at the start of the clip and was most certainly not taken from the location suggested. Basic analysis of the image size coupled with the specifics of the alleged equipment show that it is impossible to get an image of that size from this distance using this equipment. He didn't show enough of his equipment, Paul, you Burke, and even if he did, you wouldn't know it because you're not a bloody photographer. You're a high school teacher that claims to be a physicist. The presence of a boat before the horizon indicates the shot was taken very much less than 200 kilometers away. It also does not match the skyline of the alleged target. Why do flat earthers have to lie in order to support their claims? Hasn't he become really vitriolic?
Yeah, well, I'm skeptical too, so, I'm not even going to speak to that.
I'm not skeptical. I take it with a pinch of salt to start with. But if he can get it, there'll be other people that can get it as well. So time. Oh, Chris MCM. Total bollocks. Bandar Abbas is 352 kilometers away, and there is no way that there is 200 kilometers, let alone 352. Where did you really take this from? The airstrip? Stripe? Yeah. It's not even Abu Dhabi in the shot. It's Keshem on the island of Keshem, 28 kilometers offshore, and you can see the edit job skips to a different video shot from much higher. Cut and paste, the camera shoots to another view. What is a different color? Nice shot, though. Nice, though. I like it when retards buy pure without question. So basically, he hasn't responded to anything on the chat yet. Maybe he's done this. Oh, yeah, he asked to Jamie. It's confirmed as Keshem, which is only about 28 kilometers away from the supposed location. And yeah, that hack edit job made it very apparent when it skips to another video from a different elevation. The video maker even admitted it's Keshem in another thread. Flat Earthers caught fabricated evidence yet again, while other Flat Earthers continuing mirroring the video as evidence. Sad. Well, if he's being challenged on it, I'm sure he'll respond. But I don't see any response from him directly. But well, let's see what he does. But fundamentally, it seems like it's a long distance away. Seems too far to be true. Didn't have a mirror line. Doesn't mean I'd call it bullshit, though. Makes me think, let's see what the criticisms are.
I do. I call it bullshit. Sorry.
Well, let's see what the criticisms are before I'm not going to do that yet. In fact, actually, if you're going to call it bullshit, Nath, you get on there and do that. If you're going to stand that position, go and do it.
What, go and comment on it and say it's bullshit?
Yeah.
I've said it live. That's much more strong than a comment. I don't know, just like I've got to agree with Requiem for a Dream or whatever he's called. Those edits are dicey as all hell. And considering the level of criticism that's been put your way for, I know you have done this, but for example, not turning the camera and showing your location and then doing a pan so you can confirm that that is the location. What he's got in place of that is a rather dicey edit.
Well, let's see.
Goes to like a telescope view with a circle around it, and it's like, nah, if that was my footage of something at 200k, you'd be damn sure I'd keep it raw.
But I think what he was showing, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he showing that the view that his camera that he's recording on right now, obviously he's not recording on the big camera, he's recording on a phone that's next to the big camera. Is he not showing that the phone that he's recording on the big camera goes into the viewfinder, and he's showing it from the phone's perspective, looking down the lens of the big camera? That was how I interpreted it.
Maybe, but again, to me, it looked like it wasn't as far as was claimed, and I'm not saying that these people who are criticising him are correct, but when someone says, well, he's admitted it's the wrong location in a different thread, you think, not that I'm going to just take their word for it either, but that's a little bit, I'd be interested to find out if he has already said, yes, I've got the location wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't trust a word of that particular baller saying that he's already admitted it somewhere, because he's probably done what Sean does and and changed what he actually did say into something that he didn't say. Maybe.
I'm not going to, like I say, I'm not going to take his word for it either, but by the same token, I can put the logical steps together based on some of those things that they've said. I know that's the point of them making those sorts of comments, and I'm not going to assume they're correct. I'll say that again. But, those were the thoughts that went through my mind as well. So, yeah, they might just have the similar thoughts to me when you're looking at it and assessing it, and then just made up a load of crap to discredit it.
See, I think that cut there I think he's got his phone up against the eyepiece. And that's what you're seeing through the eyepiece on his phone. That's my interpretation of what we're looking at. Might be wrong, but that's how I see it. I think what he's trying to show you, and then this is the actual footage.
Sure, but wouldn't you just angle your camera phone up?
Yeah, but Miles Davis, wouldn't you expect Miles Davis to show the actual water when he was claiming that it was above actual water and he didn't do it?
Yeah, and I'm making the same exact point here.
Well, the point I'm making is that when you're actually doing it at the time, you don't get all the T's and crossed and all the I's dotted. Maybe you just didn't think about it at the time.
Maybe. Anyway, I mean, you're pro, I'm skeptical. That's just the way life is, I'm sure more details will follow on this.
I'm not necessarily pro. I said take it with a pinch of salt was the phrase I used to see what the criticisms were. However, in the context of Soundly, there's enough confusion with Soundly's work in any event. And this guy's never done any work before that I've seen, so he's an unknown to me. But in any event, I'm sure it'll come out in the wash. If this is all nonsense, it'll come out in the wash. If it's not nonsense, then he stands his ground, takes the picture again, does a better job of it, and tries to show these mistakes were innocent mistakes and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we'll get to know about it, but it's interesting, whatever it is, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's fake. Obviously, we've got an image of something filmed on good equipment. That much is clear. But the claims about what it is and where it is...
I haven't seen any transitions that were suspicious, to be honest.
In this bit, no, I agree. The most compelling bit is when he zooms back out. But, like I say, without verifying it, it's a different story with your footage. You've taken it yourself. I've been there and seen where the location is and how far it is, and, we've looked at it in great detail, whereas... This is kind of a bit like the guy from Llandudno, who obviously we've never spoken to. We don't know. We do know what equipment he's got, but we don't know, any of the details of how he came to take that picture, other than what it says in a little article. Well,
yeah, but equally, it's as bad as Pontchartrain. None of us have been to Pontchartrain, and no one's been there since. He's the only warrior that's over there doing it. So it's like, well, should we not treat Pontchartrain with the same level of suspicion? No,
absolutely, and we do. I'm just saying my sort of skepticism of all evidence is kind of the same, and this would fall into the same category as Soundly. Why would I accept it immediately?
Right, well, up to this point in this video, there's not been any transitions that I've thought were suspicious at all. Nothing. And I think this next part is the repetition of the first part. I think he's already played this part. So I might be wrong, but it looks like...
No, it is, you're right.
Because obviously he's showing he's got a 600mm lens, and I think he's showing that he's got a range extender on it. Oh, I'm not sure what he's showing here. He's showing a Tamron something teleconverter. I think he's showing that he's got a range extender on it. Unless that's all one lens, and that's the brand, he's showing the brand.
Maybe someone in the chat can let us know. I know Daylight Ohio's in there. Maybe he's got a better idea about what this sort of equipment is. If you could just let us know from the chat if you do know what this stuff is, brilliant. Because we don't. I don't. Anthony doesn't.
Daylight Ohio says it looks fake. Well, I don't agree. I've not seen any evidence to suggest that it looks fake. I've not seen any dodgy transitions. This is obviously the camera. This is the camera, not his phone, because the the aspect ratio, right? And this looks like it's his phone looking through the eyepiece because it looks like he's holding it. But it's all open to the interpretation. But I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash in time. And then this looks but this again looks like repetition, but it looks like it's the camera itself. But in any event, on face value, what's it say in the description? Someone said
it's certainly worth having a look at, in the exact same vein as it's worth having a look at that guy's picture from Llandudno. But that's why that image ended up getting one show, because we can't verify any of it. So it's an interesting talking point. You can look at it, you can do your own maths on it and do your own extrapolations, but from there on outwards, that's it. And the same applies to this. It's an interesting observation, unless the guy comes forward and starts discussing it on the show or something similar. It's one of those, you can only take it at face value and then move on.
The video maker has already admitted it's fake. Oops, it's only a 28-kilometer observation and it's not even Abu Dhabi. See, it's comments like this that make people think that he's admitted it's fake, but where's the evidence to say that he's admitted it's fake? Saying that he's admitted it's fake doesn't mean he has. So for me, it's like, take it, like I said, take it with a pinch of salt, but this is the claim, 200 kilometers from Iran to Abu Dhabi. If it turns out to be somewhere else, I'm sure it'll come out and we'll get to know that it was faked. But that's what the ballers are there for, to see if they can fix it and correct it and make it accurate or whatever. But the minute I see Paul Voigt on there, I just think, yeah, derp. Anyway, so that's that one done.
Is there anything else, or shall I go back to the sunset?
You can go back to your sunset.
Beautiful.
And the guy from yesterday, we had an interesting conversation with a guy who claimed to be an astrophotographer. He didn't know the name of his telescope. He didn't know what brand of lens he had in it. And then me and Nathan were laughing at him, thinking that he was a liar. And then he pops his camera on and shows that he had a load of telescope equipment. And we were like, wow. But then after the show, I was talking to Nathan after, and I said, do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if he had all that stuff there and it was like customer's kit. Because when I looked at the stuff afterwards, it didn't look like it was like a home environment. It looked like it was a work environment, and that they weren't his. That's why he didn't know anything about it. So if you're out there with the guy with the telescope, come back on. Let's have a look at your stuff again, because I want to see a little bit more about it. I'm interested.
So Woz is asking about our flat Earth evidence. Jump on, Woz. We'll tell you all about it.
Well, you got Kansas as flat as a pancake and 5 other states that claim to be flatter than Kansas. That's to start with. You've got your own road in Australia that's like 100 and odd miles or whatever it was, flat as a pancake, no curvature. I mean, all these things are all issues that basically don't purport to be in a sphere. And the only real, quote, credible evidence of sphericity is soundness. And that's what everybody thinks is spherical. And I'm like, no. T-Bone, nobody go on. The show is dying. Show us your subs, T-Bone. I asked that guy a few weeks ago in here about his avatar, and he said that he had all what he shown on camera yesterday back then. I asked that guy a few weeks ago in here about his avatar, and he said he had all what he shown on camera yesterday back then. Why? What was his avatar yesterday? Did you notice his avatar?
Nope. I don't think he had one.
Alex Quaint, I would go on, but Nathan would make him cry.
I only shout at people when they obfuscate the point. So with Sly Sparkane, he didn't understand his own model. So he was showing a demonstration of butane being poured on a barrel and claiming that that was the same effect as seen in the Isle of Man. And when I pointed out that the entire bloody island's looming, he said, I don't know, I'd have to check the maths. And it's like, well, what the hell are you doing here if you don't understand that the whole island's looming? Rumpus then joins and said, no. So I said, okay, go ahead, Rumpus. Are you saying that the stuff in the distance isn't further around the curve than the stuff in the foreground? He answered, no. And I confirmed it again. Are you serious? You're saying the stuff isn't further around the curve? He answered again for a third time. No. And I said, I'd love to hear this, Rumpus. You go ahead. And he said, oh, yes, it is further and further around the curve. At which point, I, understandably get totally pissed off with people like that. Little Judas, denying his own model 3 times.
Nathan and Riley have awkward tension. Nick has no
Really?
L.
I don't think so.
Nick has no L. I don't know whether it's worse to have awkward tension that doesn't even exist or no L. Right, here's the thing with Nick, right? Nick's a troll in chat, and he's fundamentally an half-decent guy when you actually speak to him. But he changed his name from Nick L to Nick because he was being bullied by somebody on the Flat Earth side. I think it was Pete Shea. I might be wrong. I can't remember exactly. But he actually changed his name because he was being picked on by somebody that he has no respect for anyway. Why did you change your name? Put your L back in your name, Nick. At least then that'll shut me up about giving you that to peck at your head at. Sorry, Sleeping Warrior, but you won't get the conversation you want with Nathan bullying anyone who comes on. Well, Darkstar, you see, here's the thing. When the ballers come on, right, the whole point of the show is to discuss the debate of debate the shape of the Earth. And the ballers are the ones that tell us what the science is. They tell us that we live on a spinning ball. Now, the thing is, Nathan's been around long enough, and he knows all the stories, and he knows the issues that are contentious, and he knows the issues that are strong, and indeed the issues that are weak. And when a baller comes on and says things that he knows that are wrong, or he knows that there is no evidence for, if he calls it out, that's fair. That's the tactic. That is the debate. That is what you're supposed to do. Now, if you don't like being cornered with nonsense, don't speak nonsense. Speak things that are true, and then he won't bully you. But if you think you can come on and spout nonsense and not be called on your bullshit, then you've got another thing coming. Because we know that there is no credible evidence to support the sphericity of the Earth. That's the whole point of the show. So if you think you have got evidence of it, bring it. Let's have a look at it, and we'll laugh at it. Because none of it's credible. But if you think you can come on and present it as truth and be unopposed and not have anybody challenge you, you're in the wrong place. Go and do that in Earth Discussions 2.0. You'll be able to get an unrestricted microphone in there because nobody goes there and nobody listens, and it doesn't really matter what you're saying there. But if you want to have a debate about what you think is the shape of the Earth, and you either have rubbishy evidence or no evidence, then you're in the wrong place if you think that you're not going to get picked on when you make an assertion like the Earth spins. Because we all know that there's no credible evidence of the Earth spinning. So if you don't like that, leave.
It's correct.
Whole point.
Sorry, I was just going to say I've forgotten who it was now. Somebody said, oh, the evidence will just be ignored. I think it might have been Alex. Something along those lines. Maybe not. If it isn't you, Alex, I'm sorry. But, we're in a position where we have someone like Sly who's making a demonstration, quote, providing evidence, and what he's providing is disingenuous. It doesn't match what actually happens in your model, the ball model that is, in terms of what is actually represented in the photography of the Isle of Man. And when I pointed that out to him, he obfuscated my point and then was backed up by Rumpus, who completely disagreed with his own model. In other words, he backed up Sly, who said, no, that's not the case. I'll have to check the maths. No, I don't think you don't have a line of sight to the stuff at the top. And this is a misapprehension that many people seem to have. Yeah, I was chatting with Ranty yesterday and I had to break it down for him because he was saying, look, well, obviously we've got a direct line of sight with the top of Snaefell, even in the globe model, because it's there. There's no refraction blocking the view. It's well above the curvature. Why wouldn't we have a direct line of sight? And I had to break it down for him and say, it's further round the curve. And being further round the curve and representing itself like it does, as though it's on a flat plane, and let's make no mistake, it does represent itself, this image, as though it's on a flat plane. Even if you believe you're on a ball, we can take straight lines of sight to the observation of the Isle of Man. So even if you don't like it, what we see is a representation of a flat plane, hence we can measure it with straight lines and simple trig. But when we get to the details of the fact that Snaefell Mountain is indeed looming, as was conceded by the Rumpus after he denied it 3 times, we're in a position where the evidence that we are told we ignore can be entirely dismissed. Not ignored, dismissed, based on the fact that it doesn't match the observation. And he didn't even understand this. Sly, who's clearly ignorant, didn't get it. He thinks it's fine to just try and represent the stuff in the near foreground being blocked by curvature and nothing else. Everything else is where he thinks it should be. Wrong. None of it's where it should be. The entire bloody island's a mirage. The entire bloody island's looming. The entire island is a hologram. And if you want to dice words with me and say it's not a hologram, it is a hologram. It's a 3D representation made up of light. So it's not actually what you can see, it's a hologram. Now, if you don't like that because it's presented as a 2D picture of that hologram, tough. It's a hologram. When you look through the eyepiece or with your own eyes at that thing, it's a light representation of something that is not physically there. Therefore, a hologram. You don't have to like it. You can call it a mirage if you don't like it. Or like the rumpus, you can call it looming. But what these words all mean is the same. They all mean the same thing. They all mean none of it is where you think it is. You can't take a straight line measurement to the top of Snaefell if you believe you're on a globe, even though that's what surveyors would do. You have to make up this whole nonsensical arc calculation to calculate for things that simply are not there. They aren't where you think they are. The stuff at the bottom is totally different place to the stuff at the top because it goes further and further and further around the curve. Ignoring the fact that everybody on the Isle of Man has had all of their buildings built by surveyors, and none of them have applied any of this crap to their building processes. The Isle of Man itself is flat. It would survey flat like everywhere else surveys flat, but we're supposed to assume that when viewed from St. Bees, suddenly it's arcing its way around a curve and necessitating looming, so that the entire island is up above the horizon, meeting your eye line in perfect symmetry to the point where you can apply arc calculations to it. So you guys are doing maths on holograms. We're saying it's in a straight line. The view from this point to that point is a straight line. The view from this point to that point is a straight line. None of it ever can be used by the globers. The first level of maths is a total fail immediately because we have different targets at different distances, necessitating the entire island to be affected by refraction, regardless of whether or not it's obscured by the curve, including Snaefell. Hence, you've got Tricky Dicky Rumpus saying, oh, well, yes, it's very near to a straight line, but we still apply an arc calculation to it. It's like, why? Because it isn't really where it's supposed to be. That's why. It's supposed to be further around the bloody curve. It doesn't matter how much you say it's near to being a straight line. As soon as he measures anything with a straight line on the vertical, he will prove a flat Earth. Because that's what we do in our model, to prove a flat Earth. So we have plenty of evidence. We don't ignore anything. People like Sly just present crap. Total crap that doesn't represent their model in any way, shape or form. And when we point it out to them, we get classed as being bullies. It's nonsense.
Anyway, share my screen, mate.
You're up.
Now, I think this is the video that Sly brought on yesterday, and I really wanted to address this, but Nathan had basically attacked him like a pit bull in the corner, and he left. But this is what I was going to say to him if he'd have stayed. I think this is the video, and in the description, it's a response to me. And I didn't even realize it was for me, so kudos to that guy. That the mirage or looming in my previous video was just stretching. Well, if you look at the red piece of clay, it's completely hidden, yet it is revealed by atmospheric refraction. Okay, so let's go with this.
Sorry, just want to correct that. No, it's not brought back by atmospheric refraction. It's brought back by butane.
Ah, that was what I was getting to. You spoilt it. You've took my thunder.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
It's okay. What I was going to show was that when he starts pouring this liquid butane on, which he should do any second. Come on. Now what he's showing is that you can see that this red layer of plasticine is brought back from behind the horizon. But the problem is the differential difference between this liquid butane, which is minus X amount of degrees Celsius, compared to the atmosphere that it's actually in at the time, which is plus whatever, is that much that we never see that amount of variance in real world at any point. You see it by the millibar. You see like temperature variances of maybe 1 or 2 degrees. You don't see it by however many this is. So this is a ridiculously exaggerated claim, and it's just like the claims where standard refraction claims 7.6R for a negligible amount of refraction. It's 15%. Well, 7.6R at 15% works out to be nothing like negligible. So the scale is just ridiculous.
It's never going
But
to be
also,
negligible either. Sorry to
doesn't.
steal your thunder again, but basically, if you're applying an arc calculation and you're bringing stuff back up from further and further around the curve, the differential in terms of how much refraction you have to apply is going to increase exponentially in the same way the curve increases exponentially. So you're never going to have a minor amount of refraction applied, ever. You only get a minor amount of refraction applied if you do it on a flat plane, like the image presents. If you say how much refraction is in the image of the Isle of Man and look at it and compare it to how much other pixels that aren't suffering refraction, it is negligible.
And just for disinformation sniper that's asking me 101 questions in chat, go and get 20 subs and I'll come back to you with some answers. But for the minute, you're just trolling. But the point is, there's a differential between the temperature variation here that's disproportionate in the atmosphere. You don't see that level of fluctuation in the atmosphere. You see like pressure variance of like plus or minus a few millibars. You see temperature changes a couple of degrees when you're looking over. And if it drops significantly, you can't even see the stuff because it condenses the atmosphere, it condenses the vapor in the atmosphere and makes fog, mist. So none of this is actually relevant yet. Sly claims that it was supporting the idea. I can't remember what his point was at the time. Oh, I think he was on about refraction bringing things back from behind the curve. Well, if you actually look what actually happens, he doesn't actually bring it back. What he does is, I'll slow it down to the slowest I can get it. When he starts pouring it, look what actually happens. Now, bear in mind that the idea of this thing being loomed up from behind the curve means that either the whole island has got to be pushed up, or that which has been brought back, which in this case is the red plastic, there we go, overrides or over what's the word? It sits on top of, it overlays that which is already there. And then you see a divide between that which is already there and then that which is supposed to be there. So either the whole island is not looming back up, or we see evidence of something being loomed, because there is the point where you can see that there is a line between where it should be and where it wasn't. And you can watch it literally disappear now. You ready? Okay, so can you see that it's overlaying in front of it? So if the idea is that Mako Lighthouse has been brought back from behind the curve, then you've got to show that there is that divide between the looming bit, which is the red line, the line, and the bit that's not being loomed, which is the thing in the background. And there is no evidence of that. So if that's going to be your explanation for looming, apply it to Mako Lighthouse, and you don't see that. And that's what I would have said to Sly yesterday. Before he ran like a little girl, which obviously he'll claim that he's not going to sit around and be bullied by a baller like Nathan and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, Sly knows it's not a ball. Sly knows the Earth's flat. He pushes his nonsense because people believe it. And it's really easy to push nonsense that is the official narrative, because if you think two planes hit three buildings and cause three buildings to collapse, but it's the official narrative, it's really easy to go with that because everybody else thinks it, because everybody else has been told it by the news. But ultimately, you know and I know that two planes can't cause three buildings to collapse. I heard somebody saying about Building 7 that it was damaged by the collapse of the two towers. Dude, it was on the opposite side of the park. It was nowhere near it. It probably sustained zero damage. It might have had the odd broken window from the odd random projectile that spooned across the whole park, but it wasn't damaged at all. Building 7 was all by itself. So without going on a tangent on 9/11, if you think the official narrative is it's easier to push the official narrative and be rubbish at it than it is to look at the facts and go, hey, hang on, that doesn't make sense. And again, no steel structure frame building in history has ever collapsed, but for the three on that day. Well, that tells you something. It tells you a lot. Anyway. Oops, wrong button. I nearly kicked myself out then.
I don't think Sly ran away. I think he was just going to actually figure out how his model works because he was ignorant.
No, I think you bullied him into submission. Honestly, I think he ran with his tail between his legs because, well, not between his. I think he left because he was being attacked. But you know,
I wasn't attacking Sly in the slightest. I said to him, "Do you accept that the entire island is looming?" And he didn't accept it. So I explained it to him and then asked him if he accepted it, and he still didn't accept it and said he'd have to go away and look at the maths. Then Rumpus interrupted. At that point, I hadn't even raised my voice. And Rumpus said, no, it's not all going around the curve. denied it 3 times, Judas Rumpus. Then I got angry with Rumpus for denying his own model 3 times, and then confirming exactly the point I was making with Sly. That's when Sly left, when he realised he'd been made a complete fool of.
Interesting comment there by M. Scott Veach. He says, now that I think about it, it actually makes a ton of sense that one bullet could kill 2 people. So I guess, yeah, 2 planes could destroy 3 buildings. Oh, well. Yeah, that relies on one of the planes going completely through the first building, popping out the other side, and then carrying on going into the next building, unimpeded, whilst it makes that second building collapse as well. Now, obviously, there were only 2 planes on the day. There wasn't a third plane, and no plane went through the other side of the building. So it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. And if you look at the Pinocchio's nose footage, that shows that there was CGI in play, absolutely. And if you believe that CGI is a real representation of real world, then you're an idiot, or as Nathan would call you, a moron. So which is it, M. Scott Veach? Are you an idiot or a moron? Because no plane went through the building and then hit the other building. And the Pinocchio's nose footage shows that CGI was being used, and it was on the fly, literally done, literally live. So if you believe that, you're a moron. Disinformation Sniper, I'll answer your question if you get 20 subs. Come back with 20 subs and I'll start answering your questions. Darkstar, do you think it was CGI? Like I say, go and look at the Pinocchio's nose footage. That was clearly CGI. Go and look at the footage from and when I say the Pinocchio's nose footage, that's the helicopter footage from somewhere out over water. It was miles away. I think it might have been, I don't know where it was actually, but it was taken from miles away. You can see that it starts zoomed out at the beginning, and it zooms in towards the end. And at the point where it's zoomed in, you see the plane. But if you backwards trace where that plane should be when it's zoomed out, there should be a plane in the image, and there isn't one.
So we have approximately 1 hour left on this live stream. Hope you're enjoying the debate from the comment section, admittedly, thus far. If you would like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you would like to support this channel, there is a link in the info box below this video once it is rendered, and a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live. Also, please share the show, as sharing the show increases the chances of a more live audience by, of course, increasing the chances of a more diverse panel by increasing the live audience. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there is approximately 1 hour left on this live stream.
Nathan?
Yes?
M. Scott Veach says, the Pinocchio's nose footage, huh? I'm sure it's very truthful. Can I just play that on screen for a minute for a little tangent and just show people the ridiculousness of it? If you say no, it's fine. But I'd like to show people this because M. Scott Veach is trying to pretend that it doesn't even exist.
17-year-old. Can you stop doing that, please, Eleanor?
Dog!
I'd rather not, if that's okay by you. It's been done.
Just look it up. It's a helicopter pilot that's now dead. He died in a light aircraft accident, apparently. Go figure. And you can see that the masking that they were using back then, you can see it. It's blatantly obvious when it's pointed out. If you're not familiar with it, go and research it. Pinocchio's nose, 9/11. It's all over the internet. I don't believe that M. Scott Veach has not come across this. In fact, I'm going to call you a liar. You're old enough to know. There's no way that you don't know. M. Scott Veach, you're dishonest. If you're going to claim that the Pinocchio's nose footage in some way didn't exist by the way that you cited your line, then there's only one thing that tells me that you are. Larry Silverstein about Third Tower. We decided to pull it. That's the game over. They were already wired to go. Yep. Larry Silverstein also tripled the insurance cover on the buildings 6 months before they fell. Tripled the insurance cover, and they would apparently most of the building was decommissioned because of asbestos, and to get it all fixed and removed and all that nonsense was going to cost them millions. Although I don't know how true that is, but it was something that I read and I thought that was interesting. Disinformation Sniper, it doesn't matter how many subs I have on this channel, you're just being a coward. I don't mind answering you, but you have 0 subs. You are a troll account. I'll answer anything that comes up in chat, generally speaking, unless it goes beyond conspiracy realms and goes into the likes of my personal life. It's got nothing to do with the discussion point, but if you want to ask something on topic, be my guest, I'll answer it. but you're just trolling me with a 0 sub account. Why would I give you any time of the day? I'm not going to address you from this point forward. Multi-Tom Tom asks, M. Scott Veach, are you an agent? Of course he is. He has to be. Either that or he's totally indoctrinated. I don't believe he's stupid enough to be indoctrinated. At least he admits it. Phase 0 sub account. Fuck off, Riley. Isn't it funny that like the protesters like over like weeks ago, but they still don't want to come on? It's because they must be scared of you, Nath.
I don't know, they've all been on. We've had Rumpus on, we've had Sly on, we've had Lottie on, we've had Cat Earth on. Jeremy's been on. They've all been on since the boycott. Crap boycott. Yeah, they're all very keen to let us know how their refraction works. How it makes a flat plane observation actually a ball. They're very keen to tell us this.
I've just had somebody sending me a WhatsApp message saying about Pinocchio's nose. Show it on Nathan's. Also, Building 6 was hollowed out. Nathan doesn't seem to want to discuss 9/11, but I think it's good because it shows how ignorant the globe side is. To be honest, I agree with that. It's not that Nathan doesn't want to discuss it.
Yeah,
he
I'll
has the flat Earth debate.
If you don't mind. So feel free to go through my multiple 9/11 videos that are on my channel. I think a lot of them are labelled Flat Earth United or Flat Earth United Kingdom, and there's also a Mechanics of the Fourth Wall specifically on that subject. This is a flat Earth debate, that's why I'm not so keen to talk about it, that's the only reason. I understand the links between the deception that is being perpetrated by the people who make television and the deception regarding flat Earth. And there is a link, but we've discussed it. I just don't want it to go on forever and ever about 9/11, that's all.
Hello, my name is Anthony Riley, and I make cringy AF videos of me driving a Range Rover on a beach. From Nick L that has no L.
This is the best Nick Scott, is it? Talking to you ad hom about Range Rovers.
This is the best, what do you say? What did you say? The best what?
I said, is that the best they've got?
Yeah, the best that Nick's got, yeah. Anyway, it wasn't cringy. It was a Knight Rider tribute. What's cringy about Knight Rider? David Hasselhoff's that uncool that he's cool. What are you on about?
They love him in Germany.
I think everyone loves him secretly.
Yeah, I like the car.
Yeah.
Was it a Trans Am?
Yeah. Pontiac Trans Am, wasn't it? 1978.
Something like that. Kit. Love it.
That Range Rover vid was cringy. How was that an ad hom? Well, it's not. I don't even think it's cringy. It was a tip of the cap to Knight Rider, one of my favourite ever shows from the 80s. I don't see any problem with that. I don't see why it's cringy. Nick L, what car do you drive? Nick L probably hasn't got a car. Probably got a bus pass.
Nothing wrong with not having a car.
There is when you're attacking me for driving a Range Rover on a beach.
No, I haven't got a car.
Yeah, you do.
No, that's my wife's car. I don't have a car. If I wanted to go in a car now, I don't have one because it's not here. Because it's not mine.
But isn't the like if it's your wife's car, doesn't that technically mean it's half yours?
Not really. She bought it pretty much from new many, many years before meeting me. So, you know, that's definitely her car. Yes, technically, I can't really disagree with you married, so therefore what's hers is mine and what's mine is mine. I mean, what's hers is mine and what's mine is hers.
M. Scott Veach does not have a car either, but he does have a driver.
Have you got a license, M. Scott Veach? Can you actually drive, though, if push came to shove? I'd be interested to know that. I've met plenty of posh toffs that have drivers and really posh cars on their driveway, and they literally don't even have a license.
Creator rewriting any Wikipedia pages lately? Nope. Married her for the car? Did you marry her for the car, Nath?
Did I what? Marry her for a car?
Yeah.
No, I had a better car when I met her. Does anybody marry anybody for a car? Does that actually happen?
Yeah. Anna Nicole Smith. She married. Who did Anna Nicole Smith marry? An oil tycoon guy that died. He was about 75 when she met him. Mega millionaire. Although it wasn't for his car, it was for his bank account. But people do marry people for their perceived wealth. Yeah, of course they do.
Gold diggers. Yeah, definitely wasn't gold digging, neither was she. We were just very much in love. That's why people get married, or at least that's why I thought people got married.
Sniper's now got 20 odd subs. Let me see.
He's just subbed to himself 20 times. Fair enough, at least he's gone to the effort.
No way he has.
Right, guess we're going to get some questions answered. Excellent.
Disinformation Sniper now has 22 subs. Okay, so what was the question that I've missed? Is it this? I'm a retired firefighter. I'm a retired firefighter. No, I'm a retired fighter pilot. I flew F-15s and my son builds satellites. Would you like me to join the panel? Yes. I have government friends that know the flat Earth is a trolling tactic. Yes, I would like you to join the panel, Disinformation Sniper. Feel free. In fact, the link's in the chat, in the side chat, or in the description box. Come in and let's see some of the pictures of you flying your F-15s. There was a guy that claimed to be the son of an astronaut and still thought the Earth was a ball. Alex has raised the bar to 40. So I tell you what, Nate, should we just go make ourselves a brew while they all have a chat amongst themselves in chat?
I don't mind. I'm sat here watching the show and monitoring it. I'm sat here for
literally
50 minutes minimum.
We'll literally get make a brew and leave them chatting in chat.
Yeah, they're going to try and chat anyway.
I know, but like they're all sat there like flinging their comments around and nobody wants to come in and present evidence to support the shape of the Earth. And just so that everybody's aware, Alan B can't join the show. Nathan and Riley are working for the Russians. Do you know what? I've got a lot of sympathy for Putin because a lot of the things that he says make a whole lot of sense. I'm not working for the Russians, but I can see why you think so because I agree with an awful lot of what he says.
Shout out to Agent Detective. Thanks for the advert this morning. Much obliged. Do love a good advert.
Well, didn't Riley just say that any evidence for the shape of the Earth is nonsense? Well, it's lacking in credit. So, yeah, it's nonsense. And will be shouted down. If you don't like it, don't join. Yeah, it's true. If you really think that the shape of the Earth is spherical, present your evidence and let's see how strong it is when it comes under scrutiny, because there is no credible evidence for the shape of the Earth being a ball. All the evidence shows that it's flat. All of it. Some people perceive that it's a ball and push that narrative because it is the official position. No, the obstruction we see at the horizon isn't curvature. It's inverted mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction. Thanks, Sly. I'll remember that phrase for the rest of my life now. Why can't Alan B come on? Because he disrupts the show. Doesn't really add anything to it. Nathan, Anthony, if you guys are so right about the shape, why not move on to presenting more evidence? Look up the stars, for example. Ross, do you want to come on and tell us what you mean about what the stars prove about the shape of the Earth, given that they're in the sky and they're not on the Earth? Don't really see the connection there.
We can't help it if everyone's absolutely obsessed with the Isle of Man footage. You know, we can't help it if these guys keep going back there and getting more observations from different vantage points. We can't help it if these guys come and want to debunk us and claim that refraction is actually bringing things back up from behind the curve of the Earth, where it is actually situated. We can't help any of that. You know, I didn't specifically invite Rumpus and Sly to come on yesterday and try and discredit our evidence, which they did a very poor job of. You know, we didn't ask them specifically. All are welcome. But, you know, if you guys are confident, why are they going back? Why are they coming on the show to tell us all about how we're wrong? You know, that's the situation here. So you guys are saying, why don't you move on? No. I think we'll stay right where we are. We'll shove it right in your faces. It's flat. It measures flat. It photographs flat. It is flat. You guys have to get around that fact with bullshit. And we're going to laugh at it every time it comes up. Every time. That's why nobody wants to join.
And the thing is about the that observation that people don't want us to move on from. There are ball earthers that are going back. So Miles Davis, there's 3 instances that that's created a bit of an issue for you ballers. Miles Davis has claimed that he was 40 feet above the water level, and it's calculated to be 31 feet above the water level. And he claims that it matches exactly what you'd expect to see on a sphere when he looks out to the horizon and sees turbines that are being distorted to death. He thinks that distortion is curvature, and ignores the fact that it's the distortion caused by some kind of atmospheric effect that is stretching and distorting them to hell and back. He thinks that's curvature, tells people that it's curvature, and is happy to honestly pushes it that it is curvature. And I look at that video and I thought, you spent an hour talking about turbines that are clearly distorted to death and show no representation of the Earth being flat or spherical, because they're distorted to hell and back. And that's one video that he did, but he got his elevation so badly wrong that I had to call him on it. And when I did call him on it, he then did a video claiming that he was being bullied. Well, if he wasn't lying in the first place, then there wouldn't be the accusation that he was lying. And that's not bullying, that's totally fair comment. Anyway, Al K went back and he did an observation of Mackle Lighthouse and Point of Ayre Lighthouse. And he did it at night time, not realizing that his own video didn't conform to the sphericity of the Earth calculator when you account for this so-called standard refraction that's supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. Now, he hadn't done the maths on it, but I've challenged him to show how this is consistent with a spheroid Earth, because it should be hidden. He shouldn't see it from where he is. It should be that far behind the curve of the Earth. He shouldn't see it. And there was another one, but I'll have to answer this call. So, Nath, fill in for me for a sec.
Yeah, no worries. Agent Detective thinks everyone's on a payroll. Yeah, you've got literally the son of an astronaut, M. Scott Veach, in the chat, who's paying to create television, and you call us agents. Right, okay. Yep, he says. Yeah, okay, whatever. Get a grip, mate. Yeah. Very poorly today, in case you're wondering why I've not piped up much. Was, I know you want to talk about intangible objects like the stars. Oh, it's okay. Did you stand on a toy? Yeah, intangible objects. So we're focused on things that we can actually see, taste, smell, touch. Tangible things. Not that that in any way implies that your model actually accurately represents what happens in the heliocentric system, because it doesn't. Brandon Cook says Patricia's cool. Cheers. We observe objects was. Yes. Well, you tell me what the stars are. Go and get me a sample.
I'd love to know what the stars are. I look up at the night sky and I see the stars, and I see when I go up to St. Bees at night time to do anything nighttime related, I see what looks like straight lines in the sky. It looks like some kind of Hessian backdrop to the stars. It looks like a construct to me. Dim Osman would say, "Oh, it's a celestial sphere, man. It proves the shape of the Earth." And I look up at it and it looks flat. It looks like there's a suspended cantilever ceiling above our head, and all the stars are fixed in place by what would be best described as a firmament. And whether you buy into the firmament argument or not, I don't really care. I look at that and I think that looks like a construct. It looks like there are holes in it, or there are weak points, or there are gems stuck in it, or whatever, and they are stuck, literally stuck. And the parallax, the claimed measured parallax that they claim that they can do, which is like fractions of a degree, is literally the flexing of the firmament due to convection currents as the sun's going around and warming things up and cooling things down and creating little movements in it. And that appears to be what these guys are measuring as the actual parallax. But I look up and I see in the night sky in an area where there's very little light pollution, and I think, whatever's up there, it's a construct. We are living under a construct of some kind, because it all spins around us and it's fixed like a snow globe. Now, I don't buy into the snow globe thing. I don't argue against it. I don't argue for it. But with my own two eyes, I look up and I see more in the sky than just stars. I see straight lines. I see what looks like a construct, and it's incredible. So I don't know what we live in, but I know what the stars are not. And the stars are not millions and millions of light years away, millions and millions of miles away. They are on our doorstep. And it's what that's the exact reason why I think that Operation Fishbowl was executed, because I think that Operation Fishbowl, after they did the Apollo missions, they realized that, because the Apollo missions was the highest successful rocket launch, in my opinion, not where they went to the moon. It was just where they managed to successfully get a rocket up high enough to be able to see stuff that we couldn't previously see. And they decided to try and blow hell out of it. And that's what I interpret was the result of the Apollo missions and the subsequent Operation Fishbowl. Only my views on it, but...
Check out Stephen Chess's channel if you want to know how to do flat Earth weather predictions. So Stephen Chess has been looking into exactly that for the last couple of years. Fascinating stuff.
P.I. Lottie, you just made a stupid claim. Citation needed. What was the claim? P.I. Lottie? Riley works in Burger King. Snowdome.
Vane Vean says, Nathan just shit himself again. Eleanor is changing him. That's actually pretty funny.
I get it. I've just realised what he means. He said the stars are not millions of miles away. Yeah, well, we can't prove the stars are millions of miles away, and we can't prove that they're not, because nobody's ever been to a star. Nobody knows the distance to any of the celestial bodies, and angular size is simply a calculation without knowing the distance. You need to know the distance to get any of the celestial bodies, and we can't get any of the celestial bodies because we don't know any of the distances. So it becomes an issue of scale. And on the scale that's accepted at the minute, if you, to quote paper explanators' words, if you assume that the sun is 93 million miles away, then on that scale, yeah, sure, the stars are incredibly far away. But nobody thinks really that the sun is 93 million miles away. I mean, I know you all push it, but if you look at the sun and realize that the light that comes to us can't be that far away because of the inverse square law, which light is subject to, it gets dimmer as it gets further away, then you realize that the sun cannot be that far away. It looks as close as what it actually looks, in the same way that the Earth looks as flat as it actually looks. You have to literally change what you think you see into something that you know that you do not see, and then accept it to believe that the sun is 93 million miles away, which of course is nonsense. But that's your prerogative. If you want to believe that the sun is 93 million miles away, be my guest. I think you're a fool, but it's up to you. Matt Taylor knows where the stars are. He sent many parcels to them. Oh, that was great. What can you prove, Sleeping Warrior? All I've heard is this doesn't make sense. I've never once said this doesn't make sense. Well, maybe I probably have. What can I prove? That Mach lighthouse can be seen when it should be behind the geometric curve of the Earth, and standard refraction that's supposed to be negligible according to science brings it back mathematically. But in real world, are you looking at it? And that means that you're not looking at Mach lighthouse. And I'm pretty convinced that what we see is there, and it is in fact Mach lighthouse. It's not an emanation of; it is the actual thing. So I can prove that Mach Lighthouse and Blackpool Tower can both be seen from 30 miles away when they're both supposed to be significantly behind the curve of the Earth. Riley, I didn't realise you had a degree in astrophysics. Sleeping Warrior, do you have any info on the vanishing moon? I have been unable to find info. Only one video. The vanishing moon? Do you mean at new moon stage?
While you're asking that, I might actually tail on something you said a minute or so ago, which is about Paper Explanator and him confessing that you have to assume that the sun is 93 million miles away or however far. And that actually spurred a conversation between you and I, because you edited together a video which you showed me, which had Hank Hill making a point about the inverse square law. And then, in terms of timing, there's about an hour gap. Oh, come here. You both of us ill, aren't we? Yes. So he obfuscated that point for an hour and then actually answered the question by saying you have to assume the sun is 93 million miles away. And when I saw that, I'd had Anthony saying to me, you know, it's probably better if you don't let them obfuscate the point constantly. And I was like, well, I want to show that. I want to show how, when globalists debate flat Earth, they completely obfuscate your point. And that's something I want to show. You know, I want to show the hang out with them muting you constantly when you're on a really good point or you've got a baller up against the wall. That's what I wanted to show. But then when I saw Paper Explanator obfuscate for an hour, only to confess that you have to make an assumption in terms of the distance to the sun, which is basically what it's all based around, that's important. But it got lost, completely lost, until Anthony actually edited that video together. So no one would have seen that that was his response to Hank Hill, because of how much time elapsed between the 2 points, between the point and the answer. So that's one of the reasons I don't allow that anymore. You know, I will kick people like, come here, come here, come on, come here. I know, hurty head, I know. But that's why I won't let people like Grim V on anymore. So that when you've got someone like yesterday, if I'd have had Sly Sparkane... Really poorly, kid, I'm really sorry.
Daddy, 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 you're not paying me attention. So I'll scream until you do. But yeah, but obviously the downside of, I mean, fundamentally, I'd said to Nathan that Hank had a really good point against Paper Explanator. And I'd spotted it. Nathan had obviously spotted it, but Nathan had allowed Paper Explanator to obfuscate the point so that basically people lost interest in the original point and he wormed his way out of it. Now, I said to him, perhaps at the end of the day, we're the minority group. We're the people that no one believes or accepts, and people laugh at us and ridicule us and try and dox us and all that kind of nonsense. But at the end of the day, Hank had him on the ropes because he was challenging and there was a debate there, but it was totally lost. And Hank didn't realize that he was being obfuscated. And I said, perhaps you should not protect the flat earthers, but when he sees the obfuscation, reel it back into the point. Don't let it go off topic. Let that point get to a resolution. Otherwise, we're never going to get resolution. We're never going to get a conclusion to a point because it'll always be obfuscated. And it went on a few more times. And in the end, Nathan said, right, yeah, I agree. The downside, of course, is that it puts the ballers off because they can't take the conversation where they want to take it, which is to the obfuscation point. I mean, for example, but not limited to, Rumpus. He had 25 minutes talking about refraction, right? Now, to me, it's all obfuscation because he never once mentioned that light bends up as well as down. And Nathan had said to me afterwards, he said, do you know what? It was kind of like mesmerizing because I was hooked, but I was listening to him. It sounds dead plausible and everything. And you'd come out of it thinking that, yeah, Rumpus is right. Refraction is it. But then I brought him back down to earth and I said, yeah, but did he mention that light bends up? And Nathan was like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, there you go. So if you allow the obfuscation points by people like the Rumpus and Charles Flat Earth Math, I mean, he's probably one of the best ones at it. But if you allow that, then no flat earther ever gets a point concluded. If you don't allow that, then it gives flat earthers somewhere to go. And like, for example, Spurs had a question about the international at the ISS in relation to the moon transits, and he wanted to know what the answer was. Now, if we allow obfuscation, he's never going to get the answer. Whether it was right or wrong, he's never going to get the answer because it will be obfuscated by nonsense, and he'll come away with it confused. But he had a genuine question, and he wanted to know what the answer was. And the answer is, well, the reality is, it could have been explained. Whether it was or not is another issue, but there was an explanation on the heliocentric model. But without a platform to be able to ask the question, like, honestly, and get responses, then you can't get questions answered, and we are the minority group. Now, it may be the case that Nathan's got it wrong, and he should allow the obfuscation again so that the ballers can feel comfortable coming back in. But at the moment, the feeling is no, let's not let them obfuscate. If they get asked a point-blank question that involves a yes or a no, then they answer it with a yes or a no, unless they've got really good evidence to why it should be a grey area in between. And that's why he asks for evidence. If there's evidence that shows that there's grey area, present it and let's see. Otherwise, it's nonsense. So answer the question. Don't allow the obfuscation.
Hi, Mark Doxey. How you doing?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
There we go.
Thank you for showing your face. That's always a good start.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thank you very much for all your emails. I only sent you a quick response this morning. I'm not sure if you got it.
He hasn't got the settings set up, has he?
No. Can you hear us, Mark?
Yeah, I've got you now. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
Is there any echoes or anything?
No, it seems okay.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there is an echo. Have you got your other watch page muted?
Yeah, let me turn it off. Hang on. Sorry about that, folks.
Are you on an Apple Mac?
Say that again, sir.
Are you on an Apple Mac?
No, I'm on Linux.
Because your quality of webcam's very good.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Unusual, because normally we have this blurry pixel mess when it's on a PC.
I think we've got good internet as well.
Yeah. So what can we do for you today, sir?
I sent Nathan an email yesterday about what I could see from the east coast of Ireland, looking at the west coast of the Isle of Man.
Oh yeah.
Where I standing on the beach of Ballyhornan in County Down. I'm 35 miles away from a little island just off the south tip of the Isle of Man called the Calf of Man.
Yes.
And I could see it very clearly yesterday, standing actually with my boots getting wet with the waves.
Did you get your P900 out?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you get this on camera?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I sent it to Nathan
I have
yesterday.
had them. Is there any chance you can present them? It's very
how do I
difficult
do that?
So if you bring them up, so open their file location on your computer, and once you've got them open, go back to this screen with the Hangout, and then I'll tell you what to do from there. So if you just take a couple of minutes to find the photos you want to present.
Okay, I might have to go close down and go into my Windows computer. I think it's on that one, or is it?
See, this is the problem with being asked to do stuff on the fly. It's not necessarily as easy as people think it is.
No, I tell you, I can tell you what I can do. I can go to the email and get it from there.
Okay. Hopefully see you in a second.
Damn.
What's that squeaky noise?
I don't know. It's not me.
It might be me.
The next machine.
Sent mail.
Yeah, it is you. I think it might be something to do with the. Is your microphone close to your speakers?
No, it's not. The speakers is actually under the table.
It's fine. Certainly... Don't worry. Honestly, you're clear enough. I've had a lot worse. It's good enough for me.
That's good. That's good.
Good. You can still hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, let's have a look.
So let me know once you've got your photos open, and I'll talk you through how to get them up on screen.
And just to give him a bit of time while he's looking so he doesn't feel under pressure, that squeaky noise, it reminds me of the advert for Peugeot. Do you remember the girl that had the squeaky earring
It was a
and
Golf.
was driving down the road?
It was a
Volkswagen.
Oh, was it
Golf.
Volkswagen? Yeah. It reminds me of that.
Okay, download complete. Right, I've got the image open now.
Okay, brilliant. So if you come back to the page where you're talking to us, the Hangout page. And then just wave your mouse over the page, and you'll see in the top left-hand corner a tab will appear, and the green one, second one down, green screen with an arrow, white arrow coming out. If you click that, it'll bring up a page. Just click application window, one of the top tabs, rather than your whole screen. And then pick the photo that you want in that list, and then click share. There we go.
There we go.
Brilliant. I'll just put it up on screen so the audience
you can see I'm standing on the shore there.
Bear with me. I've just got to get it up for the audience. Okay. There we go. You're up. I'll make you big as well.
I'm standing on the shore there. So I'm not up on a cliff. Nobody can argue about that. I'm pretty much sea level. So you can see in the distance there, I shot about maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 images, and I've stitched them together in Photoshop. So on the left-hand side, you've got the north tip of the Isle of Man. You got that?
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, and on the right-hand side, I've darkened that one and increased the saturation so you can actually see. And I've put a little arrow there saying "Calf of Man." If you can enlarge that, or maybe it's not good in the Hangout. But there's a little island at the end. Now, it was choppy yesterday, and you do get that sort of funny, milky band across the horizon. But you definitely see the Calf of Man, and that's 415 feet high. And my eye level was about 5'6" when I got that image. I've seen the Irish Sea like a mill pond, and similar weather to what we had yesterday. And you can see the Calf of Man in its full mass with no banding or funny things happening on the horizon. Can you see that, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely awesome. I just don't want to have my kids screaming over you.
Okay.
Right, sorry, I've just grabbed myself a quick brew whilst you were doing that. Just run that through that last 10 seconds that you just said, because I've only just got back.
Okay, yeah, I took a few images, and the far right one, I've increased the saturation so you can actually see what's up a bit better on the horizon. And I just marked there Calf of Man. Now, you do get that funny banding, sort of the milky, mysterious banding on the horizon. What do you call it, Anthony?
Well, we used to call it dirty air because we didn't want to give it a scientific name just in case it was wrong and we'd get ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
But then Sly told us it was an inverted mirage that was to the observer appearing as an obstruction, and now we call it the obstruction, formerly known as curvature.
Okay.
But so, do you know what the height of that Calf of Man is?
Yes, I do. It's 415 feet.
Have you done the curve calcs on this?
I have, yeah. The curve calc says it should be. Well, I did actually say that in the. Let me have a look at what I said. Yeah, this was about 1 o'clock yesterday. The highest peak of the Calf of Man is 415 feet, and it's 35 miles away from where I was. So therefore, it should be behind a wall of water of 550 feet, taking into account all that crap about the refraction. So 415 is the height, but the bulge is 550. So I should not be able to see Calf of Man.
Absolutely awesome.
What was your eye height?
5'6".
So
my camera was on a tripod. I have a 300mm zoom lens.
The target distance was what?
35 miles.
35 miles.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not using the Magic Mix Metaflunk one. I'm using the GizHub one because we've realized that the refraction calculation adjustment for standard refraction at 7.6R is miles too much. 15%, it should be negligible, and it should be like 1 or 2%. So I don't use that anymore because
the idiots have even put it there that even behind all the refraction, it still shouldn't be seen. There's still a 550-foot drop, and we're looking at something that's 415 feet high. So that they've shot themselves in the foot by saying that.
Right.
But anyway, what's the calculation that you do?
Do us a favour. I've just dropped a link in the side chat there. It starts with Dizib. Just click that and then do the curve calcs on it so that people can see it.
Sleeping Warrior, is that what? Yeah.
No, in the side chat. You know where you shared your screen before?
Yes.
It's got the little link in blue.
Oh yeah, chat. Okay. Well, Earth curve calculator. Yeah.
So you just have to, you've got to go through the same process again and just change your application window. So just just move your mouse over the page with the Hangout, go to the green box with the white arrow.
Okay, I'll get this. Yeah. Where's he gone?
Be a dab hand at these Hangouts by the end of today.
And what am I looking? Right. Okay, and then there we go. Screen share. I'm looking application window again. Yes.
That's it. Yeah, and then just pick the curve calculator window.
Yeah. It's not giving me what I opened there though. Do I drag it in? Do I?
No. Just so click the green arrow with green box, white arrow. Click on application window tab. Click on the window. So scroll down till you find the window that you need. Click it and then click share.
Application window. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. What's this one here? Gentlemen, I'm not doing very well here.
It's okay. Right, you just picked the wrong app. Do that process again, but where you go into the application tab, you need to actually pick the window that's got the white box in it.
Okay, let's try again.
So just click the button again, and then it'll bring up the box, and then click application window. But then in that tab, you've got to select the window that you want to show, which is the one that's got all the curve calcs in it.
Application window. No, it's not giving me that option.
That's okay. I'll do it then.
If you can do it, Anthony.
Okay.
I'll do it so you can see my screen then, and then you can tell me the bits and pieces. Right. For some
reason. You put that in, haven't you? Or was it that was me yesterday? Was it?
Right. If you see on my screen now at the bottom of the window, you see the three boxes. You should see mine.
Yeah. Good man. Yes, I got that. Yeah.
All right, so I've put in your observer height. Did you say you were 5 feet?
My eye level was 5'5". Now it'd probably be less than that because it was on my tripod, so I would have sort of crouched myself a bit. But 5'5" would be pretty much generous to the ballers.
What we'll do is we'll give them 6 because it's a round number.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
The target distance is 35.
Yes, that's
what
right.
That tells us now is that the hidden height should be 682 feet below the horizon.
Yeah.
So that elevation of the calf of man, did you say was what?
415 feet.
415 feet. So all of it is below the curve of the Earth, the geometric curve of the Earth. Yeah. We're not allowing for standard refraction because we know that standard refraction is supposed to be negligible, and we don't think that 15% is negligible. That's a disproportionate amount for negligible standard refraction. Yeah. But that then pushes it into non-standard refraction, in which case they can bring anything back and they can see your own arse in a telescope. So we can never really argue against that. But if let's just manipulate the maths a little. Well,
just before you do, scroll down a little bit so we can see their diagram of Earth curve. Right, so you're stood at H0, correct? That's your target position mark.
Yeah.
And then your target that you're looking at, this calf of man, is H1. Yeah. And this nice simplistic diagram shows you that we should not see it, but yet there it is.
Yeah. I see it quite regularly as I walk the dog down on the beach, but things change by the hour in Ireland.
That's right.
But yesterday it was really, really good, except the sea was a bit swollen, but it's there. I can't deny it.
Could you bring the image back up so we can see the picture again?
Oh, yes, hopefully.
And out of interest, what made you go and do the observation? Is it because you'd seen the Hangouts and thought, oh, I'm going to try that?
I've been following the flat Earth research for about 2 years now. So I came across Nathan purely by accident, really. No, it was actually you mentioned about seeing Ireland from St. Bees.
Sure.
You don't speak about that anymore. Have you sort of shelved that, or what happened?
Yeah, we got it wrong. Basically, the length of the camera could see was 41 miles, which immediately eliminates any possibility of seeing Ireland in that picture.
Well, we do talk about it. The claim in the video was that the floaty land that was being questioned Was it Scotland? Was it Ireland? Was it Isle of Man? Whatever that land was, I was aware at the time that that land was very low and it shouldn't be seen. Now, the problem was it was seen, and it was like the Calf of Man. It was like you asking about the Calf of Man and saying, what is this land? But you know that it's Calf of Man because you have all the other contours that go with it. Yeah. But in my case, I only had the point where Snaefell and whatever the next mountains were where they drop off. And I knew that the rest of it wouldn't see because it was very, very low-lying land. It sits behind this band of atmospheric distortion or atmospheric obstruction that was previously thought to be curvature, but argued to be other things. But essentially, I knew that I wouldn't see this land. And when I looked at this land, I was like, whoa, what's that? It's not supposed to be seen. Whatever it is, it's not supposed to be seen. So the question mark was, what was that land? Now, the answer is, it's Isle of Man. But they don't understand that even though it is, and I accept that it is the Isle of Man, it's still supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. So it's the same as you saying, well, what's the Calf of Man? Unless you knew that it was the Isle of Man. It's like you saying, what is the Calf of Man? And the answer is, well, it's the Calf of Man, but for me, it was supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. Now, for you, it's supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth, but you know it's the Calf of Man. So you know that something else is going on. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what was going on, and that was what I was asking. What is this land? Because if it's the Isle of Man, then we have a problem here. And it still hasn't been addressed. The Rumpus claims it matches with the curvature of the Earth calcs, and it doesn't. He's literally misrepresenting the curve calcs. But
you saw chimney stacks and a boat that was delivering coal to a power station. What you described and what you didn't know at the time was very much the coal route power station.
I agree, and I'm still not persuaded that the power stacks or the smoke stacks are not in the image because I see them. I don't know what they are. I have to, if I accept that it's the Isle of Man in what I see, and I do accept that because of the preponderance of evidence that supports it, it means that the smokestacks are either not in the picture at all and they just look like smokestacks, or there are smokestacks but I can't find them, so which bugs me because I wanted to know what they are. So
you could see the kill route. There's no question about that, because the way you described it and not knowing what it was, I knew exactly what you were seeing.
Yeah, it's difficult because the scale of it now has been settled, and we know that it is the Isle of Man. Yeah. But I still can't find the smokestacks. So whatever it was in that picture, I can't find it.
Unless the atmosphere gives it to you again.
Or it was a temporary structure on the day that there was a tall something like a crane or something, and it just so happens to look like something else.
Okay, well that's fair. That's fair enough. But anyway, we've got the Calf of Man. I've just put up on the screen there a weather balloon shot of the Isle of Man. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And the little bottom island there is the Calf of Man.
And it's 400 feet. That's actually a stronger observation than my own observation.
Yeah. I'm getting 415 feet.
Seriously, well done. That's an excellent observation, Mark.
Yeah, it is. What were you saying then? You're going to get a what?
No, the 415 feet comes from Ordnance Survey. I've not measured the height of the place, but I'm going by what Ordnance Survey tells me.
That's interesting. Let's have a look and see what it says on Google Earth for the same peak. It should be about 380 on Google Earth.
It's
difficult to work out where the peak is actually. It doesn't.
Not very many people addressing it in chat, Mark.
Sorry?
Not very many people actually addressing what you've just presented. Lots of attacks at Anthony and myself, but no one's actually addressing what you've just demonstrated. So I'm going to ask the chat quite specifically, why is it that this gentleman has seen the Calf of Man when it should be behind the curve of the Earth? Seems like these flat Earth observations are far more common than we first thought. But here we are again, with another guy with a camera just pointing at the Isle of Man, and what do you know? Stuff that should be long, long gone behind the curve of the Earth, which isn't there, is visible.
So basically, according to their model, you would need to be at an elevation of around about 250 feet, it appears.
I do have
350 feet.
A video of what I was doing yesterday as well. It's a bit noisy because of the wind.
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry?
Brilliant, yeah, play it if you can, Mark. That'd be ace.
Okay.
Where were you in regards to the water? Did you say you had your feet in the water?
Oh, yeah, my boots were getting wet, yeah.
I know that feeling.
And do you live local to that place?
Oh, and it's 9 miles away.
So you'd be able to get it on another good day again?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place for walking the dog. It's a very unusual beach in that it's a beautiful beach, but nobody ever goes, except the dog walkers.
Yeah.
Let me just. This is the one I got 2 videos. It's quite a long video, so it's just downloading now. I wanted to put it into context that you park your car up on a hill about 70 feet high, and then you walk down the steps and you're on the beach. And I was on the beach.
Got a good quarter of an hour left. There's no rush.
Sorry?
We've got about 15 minutes left, so there's no rush.
It's taking its time.
I'm really pleased you've come on, Mark. So, for all the naysayers in the chat saying, this is getting dull, and yet you and Miles and LK and Rumpus and Sly Sparkane all seem to be very, very interested in it. It's just the keyboard warriors that say it's boring.
I did text Miles on his YouTube channel. Just the title of it was Anthony Riley Lies Again or something like that. So I watched his video and I sent him a text saying, I can see the calf of man from County Down, and he says, I'll be surprised if you can. Where's your evidence? Now, I didn't have the evidence at the time, but I've got it now. So he can look at. Does he watch your channel? Does he?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to point out Sly Sparkane's comment at me at Nathan Oakley. Mind telling us what's making about 210 meters of the Isle of Man disappear? So just to every single keyboard warrior who says this is getting boring, I just want to point out that Sly Sparkane is pretty obsessed with it. Any chance you can explain to us? I'll tell you part-time vegan. How you doing, part-time vegan? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Good to have you. Long time no see.
Yeah. Is there a specific topic? Because I was going to share something real quick.
Yeah,
if you can give. Mark's nearly done. He's just going to show one thing, and then yeah, sure.
It's quite a long, lengthy one. It's not coming through that quick. Let's see on the downloads. Carry on, gentlemen. If it comes through within the time, I'll speak up.
Okay, doke.
Okay. Let me go and share my screen, entire screen. So lately I've been trying to look for just one solid, debunk of the heliocentric model, and one that is just like globe earthers really can't refute. And to me, I'm going to explain why I think the eclipse just completely annihilates the heliocentric model. So when we see a lunar eclipse, we see the moon turn red, correct?
Yep.
I agree with you. So I looked at how in the world is it possible to have a colored shadow. And can y'all see my screen?
Yeah, got you up. If you can make it full screen, that'd be great. If you could just make it bigger.
Okay, so this is basically let me hide this part here. This is showing how it's possible to have a colored shadow. Now the only issue here is it requires at least 2 light sources. So basically, when they turn off this blue light here, hold on, let me see. He turns it off. He turns off the red light, right? And as you can see here, the shadow is black. But when he turns on the red light, you see a blue shadow and a red shadow. So somehow the sun is one light source, but yet it's causing a red shadow. Now, the only way I could rationalize this is if the atmosphere is magical and somehow splits the light into 2 sources and magically turns red. So to me, that's one heliocentric debunk. Now, the other issue about the eclipse is are you guys familiar with the Sicilian? Does anybody know what that is?
No, don't think so.
I'm pretty sure you guys probably heard of it before, but it's basically when you can see the sun in the sky and the moon in the sky during the lunar eclipse.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so how they explain it is somehow, some magical way, there's still a shadow on the moon. And this is how they're saying that light travels. Now, what gets me is, why doesn't light also travel? Let me draw it in real quick. I'm going to draw it in with the green line. Why doesn't light also travel like this?
Yeah, it does, mate. It does.
It just, but in order for them to work, in order for this to work, light has to travel in special ways so it doesn't hit the moon. So to me, I find the issue with that. And then another thing about the Sicilian is this is actually not the correct model of it, because the shadow, you see how the shadow's on the bottom of the moon?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's actually, in reality, we actually see the shadow at the top of the moon. So they're actually saying that the moon is below us, but yet we see it in the sky because we're at a perfect position to where the sun is also being refracted up in this. Like it just doesn't make sense. They're basically saying that an object is below us, but it appears to be in the sky, and the sun is being refracted up, and that's why we see the Sicilian in the top shadow. It literally is mind-boggling to believe, and I think that just completely debunks the heliocentric model. And also, I wanted a solid proof to NASA faking things, because we all kind of we're aware of the evidence, but sometimes globe believers just don't want to connect the dots. So here's what I found. Actually, Antonio, you guys probably know who Antonio Substrate is or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, so he pointed this out a long time ago, but people weren't really talking about it. And this, so I'm about to try to explain it real quick because I know your show's probably almost over. But this is a can you also see my screen?
Yeah, you're up. You're presenting. If you could just make it full screen, that'd be brilliant.
Full screen. Okay. So this is a the lunar module was connected to this, right? To this part, and then this is basically the lunar module is taking a picture of what I don't know what you would call this, but basically the lunar module was attached to it. And as you can see, the lunar module is taking a picture of it. So this picture was taken from the lunar module. And as you look, you can see the backdrop is the moon. Okay, so you see the backdrop is the moon. Now we're about to see the perspective. There's a camera on this little thing too, and it's going to show you a picture of the lunar module. So keep going. And as you see, the lunar module also has the same background or the same backdrop as whatever this machine is. The thing is, that is geometrically impossible. So I try to map it out so you guys can better understand. If you have two things, so let's say this is the lunar module on the right side. This is the lunar module, and I'll go ahead and paint this red. On the right side, on the left side is going to be the attachment. If you have two objects that are looking at each other like this, hold on, let me draw an arrow so you guys can see better. Blah blah blah. And blah blah. So you have two objects looking at each other, right? It is impossible for them to have the same backdrop. It is literally impossible. And the fact that they have the same backdrop proves that this has to be fake footage. The only way, like okay, so I try to play devil's advocate here. I was like, well, maybe the lunar module was up here. But if the lunar module, let's say the lunar module is up here, right? And it's looking down at the object. That means that the object is looking back at it. The lunar module, the backdrop of the lunar module would just be space. And I know it's kind of complicated to understand what I'm saying, but do you guys kind of see what I'm saying, or do I need to explain it slower?
No, I get it totally. No, I understand. You can't see the same thing behind two things looking at each other. They can't have the same thing behind them.
Right.
Do you mind if I angle a point of criticism against you? Not from me, from Sly. He says, please ask Part-Time Vegan to first display that both the LEM and the CM were shot at the same time. Is that right?
To demonstrate that they were shot at the same time?
Yeah, his words are, please ask Part-Time Vegan to first display that both the LEM and the CM were shot at the same time.
Oh, well, to my knowledge, this was live footage, and they were basically consecutive footage. So it showed it from the CM, and then it showed it from the lunar module, unless you're saying that this isn't live footage, which then again, it's still a lie, either way you want to put it. But granted this is true, then this is proof that we have fake footage or we have fake live footage. So pick your poison.
There you go, Sly. I hope you've had a response to that. I hope you accept the response to that, rather.
We've got about 5 minutes left. I'm not sure if, Mark, if you wanted to present your video.
I've got it here now, yeah. Hopefully. That's what.
Mark, would you do us a favour? Would you send the composite on an email to me? I've sent you a link in the side chat of the green text.
Well, let's just worry about that afterwards, because we've only got a few minutes left. If Mark can play his video just first, because it's been a while queuing it up.
Hopefully I can get it for you, gentlemen, now. Application window. Listen, we'll do it next time, gentlemen.
Mark, could you come on tomorrow?
Sure, I could, yeah. What time? Yeah, I could, yeah. What time?
About 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
No, it's going to be tomorrow afternoon, actually.
No problem.
Tomorrow I've got things on in the morning, so it'll probably be mid-afternoon. No, not mid-afternoon, midday onwards, something like that.
Okay. Well, in any event, could you...
I can only do the morning tomorrow. But
right,
listen, I'll send you the same email that I sent to Nathan, and you can analyse it.
Yeah, has it got the composite in it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get Nathan to forward it me. It's fine.
Okay, it's quite a large file, so you can focus in on, and you can enlarge it quite well.
That's cool. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see how much of that distortion or that obstruction on the horizon that you got compared to what I got.
Yeah, but I'm confident that on another day, when the iris is like a mill pond, I'll get the whole mass of the Carford man, because I've seen it before.
Excellent.
We've got them.
Yeah, we have got them. We have got them, and we can keep getting this information over and over and over again. And the more times we get it, the less likely they'll be able to argue that it's non-standard refraction, because the further away from the norm it goes, the less likely it's ever going to be the same conditions and the same effects on the same conditions on another time. It's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Oh, the Earth's flat, boys and girls. Mark, have you known that the Earth was flat? Is it like, I know you said you've been looking into it for 2 years.
Well, I'm still a skeptic. I know for a certainty that the heliocentric system is wrong, totally flawed. I also know that the Earth's not a ball. What the actual shape of the Earth is, I need to be able to see it. Anything else is just an assumption of what it's like.
Yeah, but that's an unreasonable request, apparently, to Jeremy. Gem Panda says that it's unreasonable to request of Earth showing that it's flat or round, but he also argues that pictures from space is what proves that the Earth's a ball. But he thinks it's unreasonable for us to be able to get pictures from high enough elevation to show what this real shape of the Earth is.
Well, until we can, if we can, I reserve what the actual shape of it is. I just know it's not a ball, and the heliocentric system is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, I agree.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for joining the show and making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.